Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt from Meet the Media. This is episode 1 of the YouTube channel. That's what we're trying to do here, kind of get the YouTube channel going. You probably see me on TikTok at this point, right? If you haven't, you can also find me on Facebook at Meet the Media, obviously here at Meet the Media, and then TikTok at Meet the Media, all right? So let's get this going. The plan here is to kind of do a little discussion, Q&A session to kind of give you an idea of who I am, what this project is, and just kind of what I'm about and why you should hopefully listen to me, all right? So let's get it going.
Okay, so the first question is, what is the meaning behind Mute the Media?
All right, so when we're talking about Mute the Media, it can kind of be interpreted a lot of different ways. And one of my fears was originally that Donald Trump came into power was talking a lot about fake news, right? And as much as he's a pusher of disinformation and just overall what I say is BS, he wasn't wrong about the idea of fake news. And the reality is there's a lot of corporate spin out there. Mainstream media doesn't necessarily promote our interests. And so when I'm saying Mute the Media, I'm not actually saying shut it all off and not listen to that, right? What I'm saying is let's be a little more critical with the sources we use to inform ourselves and how we kind of look at the world, right? Because the reality is there's good media out there, there's bad media out there, and there's just really piss poor shit media out there. And it's kind of on us as consumers to figure it out and navigate that field, all right? So let's go to the next question.
Second question, why are you so big on Iran?
Alright, so the reason Iran's such a big topic to me, and I'll just readily admit it's a really emotional, personal topic to me, is because my dad's from Iran, so I'm half Iranian myself. My dad had to flee the country because he didn't support the regime there. He was going to actually be executed. He was lucky to escape with his life. Ever since even before he escaped, but ever since then, he's been really involved with the politics there, trying to bring freedom to the country. So it's obviously been something that's kind of given me a lot of passion, helped direct a lot of my views. I saw a lot of the bullshit coverage from Western media, from our government and things like that on the topic. Most people in media, in their day-to-day lives, even in the government, don't know anything about the topic, to be quite frank. So it's kind of driven a lot of my views and what I want to do in media. So.
Okay, so the third question, how long have you followed politics for?
Oh man, I mean since I was a kid. I was kind of a weirdo little kid. I'd be like 6, 7 years old trying to read the newspaper with the adults, but since I've been seriously following politics, probably like 13, 14 years old is when I really started to develop some of my own thoughts. Obviously for a long time you're really influenced by your parents, your environment, what you were taught growing up. So as a conservative, a registered Republican for a long time, my conservative views really started to kind of shift around 2017 with Donald Trump kind of coming in the first year of his presidency and just kind of being really not on board with where I saw the GOP was heading. I officially unregistered from the party in 2019, but I wasn't really on board with the GOP since about 2015 or so. It's just when I officially unregistered. These days I'm not quite sure, it just depends on the issue. I like to call myself an issueist. So, next question.
The next question, where do you get your sources from?
Okay, so this is a really good question. So like I mentioned, one of the things I'm studying, and I don't know if I did mention it, but one of the things I study in school is communication. Within that, one of my emphasis would be mass media. So when we're talking about mass media, media and how we inform ourselves, you should be looking at sources across the spectrum. Really, you want to evaluate them in two kind of ways, and that is with their bias and what their fact-based approach is. The reality is I use a variety of sources, kind of both left and right. I start with like NPR, PBS, the AP, Reuters, Axios, Reason, and Cato, kind of off the top of my head. Because that gives me kind of something left to right. They're really good in their fact-based approach, but really you got to be checking it all out and just being critical and understanding that some of these are good sources and you can kind of take it for what it is, right? And some of these are really bad sources that might have like a nugget of truth, and you got to really follow up and be really, really critical with them. So,
You mentioned mass media, so what is it that you study and what are your religious views?
Ooh, so okay, those are kind of an interesting little intersection there. So within mass media, what I study is just kind of the cognition, like the cognitive process, and by that is how do we learn things and kind of take in information, and then what do we do with that information? And so mass media looks at kind of the media field. It looks at print, newspapers. It looks at digital media. It looks at the internet. It looks at traditional TV, movies, things like that. It looks at the information we're taking in, and then what do we do with that information, and how do we kind of inform ourselves? How does it impact our beliefs? How does it impact our actions and things like that? It's a really fascinating process. As for my religious views, my dad comes from a country where there was a really brutal religious dictatorship, right? And then my mom comes from a family that was Catholic, but neither one of them really took religious seriously because of their own experiences and kind of what they saw as hypocrisy, kind of. So both are spiritual and both maintain a level of faith, but in our family, we didn't really talk about religion like that, and I was kind of free to kind of develop my own ideas there. So really, if I had to really label myself, I'd probably say agnostic. I definitely don't roll with any of the traditional religions. I believe in spirituality. I think we all have faith to some degree, no matter our belief. If I was really forced to pin myself down, I'd say I'm an atheist, though. So, next question.
Next question, what side do you side with?
Ooh, what side do I side with? So like I said, I call myself an issuist. So the reality is I side with whatever side makes sense depending upon the topic. So I think context is a really important thing. While we can have our views and we can typically lean one way or the other, balance isn't a set midpoint, and so nothing in life is neutral. So the reality is you got to kind of tilt and lean the right way. So today I'd say I lean more left, right? Because I think that's what's kind of, we need more progress as a country as opposed to tradition, right? You got to find that healthy balance between progress and tradition. You can't just say all progress, no tradition, or all tradition, no progress. So I'd say I lean left, but it really depends on topic. Like I'm a pro 2A guy, which isn't really seen as like a left-wing view, for example. So it just depends on the issue, man.
Okay. Next question. Why should we give you a follow?
Why should you give me a follow? So that's a tough thing for me to answer because I'm not typically one who likes to market themselves and be like, yo, you got to do this, you should do this. But I think I can help really inform you in a few different ways, all right? I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective when it comes to Iran, U.S. foreign policy there. I think given my background and what I study, I can help kind of improve your media literacy. But the cool thing is, why I hope you should follow me, is the reality is this should be a two-way process. And while I can inform you, I hope that you guys can inform me because I try to be really engaged. And I hope to learn from you guys as well because the reality is we all have something to offer when it comes to knowledge, information, and things of that nature, guys. So I think I'll kind of wrap that one up there. How about the next question, my man?
And here's our final question for today. Who are you?
Who am I? That's such a loaded question, right? I think who am I is just what we just went through. That's a little series of questions right there. I'm a young guy who's studying really hard to kind of develop himself and kind of create a foundation where I can kind of bring something to the table in terms of the world, right? We're all trying to do something. We're all trying to have some kind of impact. I care a lot about media. I care a lot about how we inform ourselves. I care a lot about trying to hold government officials accountable, and I care a lot about Iran. So those are probably some of the things that I really focus on. Right, obviously there's a lot there that I'd like to dive into, but I don't want to bore you guys with all those details. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, guys. Like I said, my name's Matt. I'm from Youth Media. If you don't know where I'm from, you can find me on TikTok, Facebook, going forward here on YouTube. This was the first episode. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening, and y'all have a great day, all right? Take care of yourselves.